Well, hi there. After looking at Psalm 23 yesterday, we've gone back to Psalm 22 today. And this is a messianic psalm, and it is impossible, I think, to read this psalm without thinking of the cross and Jesus' death. It talks so precisely about that situation. Well, we note that the Good Shepherd of Psalm 23 is the Good Shepherd because of the experience that is described here in Psalm 22. There are numerous quotations in the New Testament of the words of this psalm, and also in Hebrews chapter 2. We may know, we may not know why David wrote this, but I think we can understand it to be a prophetic psalm. Maybe it came from some experience he had, but it speaks very clearly and decisively about the experience of Jesus on the cross. In the first 5 verses, it talks about being abandoned by the Lord. And the opening words of the psalm immediately take us to Calvary. For Jesus quoted at the end of that 3 hours of darkness these words. He cried out that God had forsaken him, his Father had forsaken him. When he spoke those words, he'd been engaged in a mysterious transaction with the Father, dying for the sins of the world. So on the cross, Jesus was made sin and he was made a curse. In some inexplicable way, he experienced what a condemned sinner experiences in their separation from God. It was not a cry of a complaining servant, but rather it was a sob of a heartbroken child asking, "Where is my Father? I need him." And as David prayed for help, he wondered why God didn't answer him. After all, he was a God of compassion who was concerned about his people, and he was a holy God and a God who practiced justice. Well, as we move through the psalm in the next verses 6 to 11, we have a picture of how this man dying was despised. And the words especially apply to Jesus. "I am a worm, not a man." It's a statement that speaks of how little value the leaders of Israel and the Roman officials placed on Jesus. In verses 12 to 21, we see that the enemies were so brutal that they were compared to animals like bulls, lions, and dogs. Wild bulls encircle their prey and then move in for the kill. The dogs were ravaging, savage, wild dogs that lived in the garbage dumps and travelled in packs to bring down their victims. And the people involved in arresting Jesus and condemning Jesus were only beasts attacking their creator. This is a description of a man being crucified. He's stripped of his clothing, placed on a cross, nails driven through his hands and feet, and he hangs there between heaven and earth. His body is dehydrated, intense thirst takes over, and in the end, he tastes death. Life is ebbing away like water or melting wax. His strength fades away and he becomes like a brittle piece of broken pottery. It's remarkable that David should describe crucifixion in such minute detail because Jews did not use crucifixion, and at David's time, in David's life, he had never witnessed a crucifixion. It came centuries later. If we move down to verses 22 to 31, we see here a praise for an anticipated time of victory. So we move from suffering to glory and praise. In verses 1 to 21, we see this picture of Jesus enduring the cross. But now it enters into the joy that was set before him. He had prayed and to be delivered out of death, and although he died, his prayer is answered. He is delivered out of death. And then in verses 26 to 29, we capture a glimpse of the glorious future kingdom. The image here is that of a feast that was a familiar picture to Jews who anticipated the Messianic kingdom being one of a feast and of joy. And when Jesus comes again, it will be a glorious fulfillment of this picture as he establishes his kingdom. Well, this is an exciting picture of why the Good Shepherd in Psalm 23 actually is a good shepherd, because he suffered and died for us. It's a great picture. Enjoy it and praise God. Bye for now.